Hey friends, as you can gather in the title, I wanted to quickly discuss the raid emblem controversy before I started up a stream, as I anticipate that being a pretty hot topic. So let's get into it. I might have some new Destiny players here, so I'll explain all the definitions as I go along. First of which is, what is a raid? A raid is a 6-player activity with a heavy emphasis on communication and execution, as you solve puzzles, defeat bosses, and do platforming challenges, sometimes all at the same time. So they are the hardest activities in Destiny, and on day 1 of a raid, it is in contest mode. Contest mode is a setting that locks your light level. So say, for example, you're at 1560 power light level right here. It doesn't matter because the raid is capped at 1530. So ideally, you want all your gear to be at least 1530. And then the enemies are going to be like 1560, 1590. They're going to hit like an absolute truck. So what contest mode does is it standardizes power level across the board so that everyone's damage output is the same to make it easier to prepare for a raid while simultaneously keeping it competitive, keeping it difficult. Is this guy gonna soft lock us? I think he is gonna soft lock us. Okay, I'll just chill here for a little bit. Okay, let's get back on subject here. That was a mean thing to do. So we know what contest mode is now. It's enabled only on the release of the raid. And this is why people cherish the release of a raid, because it's the only time we get to have contest mode, which makes there have purpose to playing the game. It makes all your builds matter. It makes all the mods, makes your stat line matter, makes your combat efficiency matter. Can you flinch enemies to keep a teammate alive while also calling out important points of information? Do you have good boss DPS? That kind of thing. It answers a lot of those questions that you normally don't have to answer in normal content. Like, I could run the burnt sidearm, the worst weapons in the game, and complete majority of content. I couldn't do that on a day 1 contest mode raid. I couldn't do that on a contest mode raid. So that's some food for thought. Contest mode makes Destiny worth playing. So this is why people are so... this is why they wear their heart on their sleeve when talking about the prestige of a contest mode raid. So the raid was extended. There were a lot of bugs and error codes that teams went through. My team went through a lot of them. A lot of bugs, a lot of error codes, cost us multiple hours on top of us already being tired. So what Bungie did is later that night, they announced that they're extending the contest mode window for an additional 24 hours. So 48 hours total. And what this allowed teams to do is just say, all right, well, we can go to sleep, regroup tomorrow when we're fresh, and attempt the raid again. And a lot of teams did this. Turns out that the PvE elitist community, elitist side of the community, is very disappointed that teams that chose to take the 48-hour option... He's doing it again, isn't he? I think that's worth a report. Just gonna take a second to do that. That player's really throwing me off here. That's so inconsiderate. So anyway, the elitist side of the PvE community is speaking in absolutes as if everybody had the exact same circumstance as them in terms of having a smooth raid completion or completing it despite error codes. How do you know that another team didn't experience more error codes than you? That's the first thing. So Bungie extended it 24 hours, so no matter how bad it was, you still had a competitive chance of completing it. So there were about 1,000-ish teams, probably below that, below 1,000 teams, that completed it within the first 24 hours. But I would assume that if there was not a 24-hour extension, there would have been a significant amount of teams that completed it and just didn't go to sleep. So my team was one of those that just said, all right, we're a little too tired for this. We could go get the caffeine in the fridge at the 16-hour mark, but since we have 48 hours, we might as well just respect our health, go to sleep, get it done, and then run more contest mode raids for fun afterwards. And that's exactly what we did. So I'm bringing this topic up in this video so that we can be more empathetic and consider all the perspectives. First of which is, well, what do you need to competitively go for a day 1 prize emblem? And the answer is you need to do the entire campaign. I know that might not sound like a lot to some people, but that's multiple hours out of your day, and for a working individual, it's really hard to free up multiple hours at a time. So you chip away at the Witch Queen Master campaign to get the light level you need, and then afterwards you do just a couple powerfuls, a couple pinnacles, and then start leveling up all your gear. And for a raid, you need good mobbing gear, like, let's think, Risk Runner. What did I use? I used, surprisingly, Warbind Cells and Witherhoard did put up a good fight. There's Lemon Arc. There's Funnel Web. There's a lot of competitive setups. Then you have your damage setups, which is like Izanagi with a rocket, Outbreak, Sleeper Simulant, Gallarhorn. All of those things you have to acquire. You also have to have exotics to go along with it, like Aeons to keep your ammo economy up. Thunder Crash, Caress chest piece. You have Orpheus Rig on the Hunter. I could keep listing examples of competitive options for your raid gear, but just keep in mind, like, if a player is starting fresh in the Destiny community, they have to acquire all of that to make it likely that there are 5 other individuals out there who want to put forth a competitive effort. And on top of all of that, you have to commit 24 hours with no other obligations. So no, I have to take the kids to soccer practice, none of that. You have to play for 24 hours to have the most competitive chance. And you don't sleep. There are some raids where my team has made that decision, where we are gassed at like hour 18. We say 3-hour nap. Then we're going to put 3 hours of very high effort into it. And also within those 3 hours, other people might have refined strats a little bit. And so you borrow strats and you get it done. And that's another, speaking in absolutes, thing that the PvE elitists do. Is they assume that 24 hours is hard because you are going past 24 hours. You're going to borrow strats from that first 24 hours. You're going to look at streams, say, this is what Dado's team used to get their completion. We should try that. Instead of, if you were ahead of Dado's team, now you have to come up with the strategy from scratch, which there is a skill to that sort of thing, an intuitive skill. And that is part of why a day 1 raid is interesting. And so the longer a raid exists, the more refined the community strategies are, the more known it is, the more Reddit would update a post, the more videos that are out there on exactly what to run to optimize your DPS, maybe an overlooked mechanic in the raid that yields more damage or cuts down on easy deaths, maybe that makes each attempt faster so you can practice a little more efficiently, that sort of thing. So the longer that a raid exists, the easier it becomes due to community osmosis, gathering information, and practicing it. This is why a PvE elitist will tell you it's not really a true completion if it's past the 24, because you got to look at other people's strategies. But the thing is, within the 24 hours, you're doing that too. You are having other streams up, you are having friends of friends look up information for you and pass that along so you can use it in your own attempt. And yes, even if I was closed out to the other side of the world, I could guarantee a day 1 completion under some of the raids of the past. I have a couple of day 1 completions under my belts, beyond just Deepstone Crypt, which a lot of people consider very easy. Part of why I value the day 1 emblem is to cut down on toxicity around my community. I don't want people being elitist to each other, and I want to be able to show up with more emblems and more shiny objects than them and bully them into being a decent player and community productive member again, that type of thing. And so I'm glad there's people out there like Gigs, for example, who got the 2nd place finish in Last Wish. Only 2 teams finished that, by the way. So if you're a PvE elitist talking about emblem prestige and shit, take it up with Gigs. Tell Gigs about how you want a shiny object, and he'll show you his. His is bigger. So consider all the things that you need to competitively go for a day 1. Consider the working person, the amount of free time they have, and just what sacrifices they have to go through in order to give it an all-effort attempt for a prize emblem. Then imagine you did all of the stuff I previously mentioned, and you start getting error codes and bugs. And that not only kills the morale, it fatigues you, and that, like a domino, makes it harder to continue with a clear mind, working as best you can. You could say, well, that's what makes the day one emblem within 24 hours even more prestigious. But the problem is, not everybody goes through the same strife of error codes. It's different. Your team might have only gotten 5 hours of setbacks, another team might have gotten 7 hours of setbacks. So how does that 2 hours get made up? Part of the reason is people are throwing shade at the number 1 and number 2 team. So I think that is Elitism, right? Saltic Repo and friends got first place. Back-to-back, by the way, which is major props. It takes a completely different breed of player to have that level of consistency. And even bigger shout out to Dado, who has also had top 3 placements in the majority of raids that has ever existed in Destiny 2. That is wild, and I couldn't even like fathom being that consistently good at this game. In PvP, sure, but in PvE, I'm just not as well-rounded of a Destiny player as they are. And I don't feel bad admitting that whatsoever. They have completely earned the prestige and accolade. So this being said, a lot of shade is being thrown at the number 1 winner, Elitism, because they're maybe Dado fanboys and wanted them to win more, because maybe Dado's team went through more error codes than the number 1 team did. I'm sure if you watch the VOD back, you can find exactly what hours of setback, but again, why are we getting into the minutia and fine details of this when everybody wins if Bungie just extends it 24 hours? And I guess there is a loser in the situation, and that's the PvE elitist who wants their shiny object and doesn't want other people to have their shiny object. And if that's you out there, I gotta say, there are more prestigious things in this game, and it might be hypocritical. Pay attention to this one. It might be hypocritical if you're also the player to ask for any sort of easement of PvP activities. If you were ever the kind of player to ask for an easier Recluse, an easier Mountaintop, an easier Redrix's Broadsword, an easier competitive playlist experience, which has turned it into the garbage experience that it is today from turning it into easy mode. You don't even have to try to get 5500 by comparison to day 1 competitive. And yes, I agree that it might have been overkill for the Destiny community, but the point still stands. If you asked for any of that shit to be easier, you're a hypocrite. So consider that. So to recap here, we don't know how many bugs set back a person, how many hours the bugs set back a person. So I think it's fair that they extended it 24 hours, and I think it's fair that even if they completed it on hour 47, minute 59, which by the way, we actually got a 5 minutes before contest mode ended, we got a clear for Hoplite. That's a friend of ours in our clan and friend group. So awesome, awesome individual. Yeah, 5 minutes before contest mode ended, we did a 1 and done clear. Hoplite joined about 10 minutes before. We did our 5-minute completion or whatever it was, and we did it. So that was fucking hype. She didn't even think she was gonna end with a contest emblem, but we clutched it out. I guess that shows how much we mastered that raid in that time, and I'm super proud of my group for having that sort of consistency. Anyhow, I hope in this discussion point I have made you consider a lot of different viewpoints. And I hope in the future that Bungie considers making maybe 48-hour raids a thing so that we can sleep. Maybe they could up the difficulty as a result of, since we have 48 hours to complete it. At the root of it all though, and I want to make this one abundantly clear, I think having contest mode enabled in every activity in Destiny 2 as like an option, just you select legendary difficulty, and then you also have a third option, which is legendary difficulty with contest mode, master difficulty with contest mode as a fourth option. So here's all the options you'd have. You'd have normal mode, legendary, legendary contest, master contest for raids and other activities in Destiny. Even like this strike playlist I'm playing right now, if I could have Vanguard strikes but with contest mode, I would do it, because then I would have to pay attention to what I'm shooting at instead of getting away with just using whatever I feel like, burnt sidearm, and just shooting some aliens. I want to be able to think about my gameplay and have like skill to acquire and a ceiling to reach for. You don't really get that in PvE, which is why I'm so bored of it and why I put basically zero effort into it. It's because ultimately it doesn't matter how I play, I'm still gonna get it done. There is some incentive for improving to acquire gear a little bit faster, and you do see me shape up when it comes down to it for certain activities, but across 99% of the game, I just simply do not care. Day 1 raids are the most fun because of contest mode, but why have it only be day 1 raids when the entire game could be enjoyable just for the simple option of having contest mode and everything? I really want to stress this, and I want the Destiny community to speak up about this being a thing that they possibly want. It is a great way to prep for day 1 raids. Even if it offers no additional rewards, I still want it in the game. But if they had to have additional rewards, maybe just double raid loot drop. That sounds pretty fair. Maybe a guaranteed red box if you don't know what a red box weapon is. I'm working towards one right now. This random... Oh, I should probably just shoot like 2 ads. There it is. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what this does. You complete a red box weapon. Then you right-click it, go over to the mod section, and claim a reward, which I have max of because there's an arbitrary cap to increase playtime. Then I'm going to delete it now that I don't need this anymore. Actually, that's a pretty decent roll. Hold up. I like that better than my old one, so let's delete my old one, then lock this one. And I got some crafting materials, and most importantly, check this out. I'll take the death to that champ. Patterns and catalysts, go to bows. I need to find 1 more red box bow in order to craft it. So with raid gear, you need 5 of those red box weapons. If you're telling me that contest mode enabled could guarantee me more red box drops, I would just play contest mode permanently. I would probably play contest mode permanently unless I'm pressed for time and just simply cannot find gamers who want to tilt the chair forward and care about their play. I think that's all I have to say here. I'm pretty sure there's a couple topic points I skipped. I'll follow that up in the description and or comment section if it's needed. Yeah, so if you're going to comment on this video, consider other people's perspective. Be respectful. See you in the stream. I'm gonna stream a little bit today. Got some Destiny Pinnacles to finish before Trials of Osiris releases. And Phantasy Star has a new seasonal event. So I'm going to do a little bit of both of that. Alright, take care everybody.